We had some friends in from places afar last night into the country because Birmingham were taking on Wrexham in what was dubbed the League One Battle of Hollywood. Sam, I've got to say, you know, like, we know the Americans are now in at Birmingham. We, of course, know that Reynolds and McElhenney are in at Wrexham. And all eyes were on that last night. It was live on Sky. I was taking it in and I was thinking all the time, is this a League One match I've tuned into tonight? I mean, if it wasn't for the American interest in both of these clubs and the glitz and the glamour that came with it, I mean, producer Luke and I were talking earlier this morning, there were more cameras, it seemed, on the likes of Tom Brady and McElhenney and Beckham, and Neville was there, than there were on the pitch. And of course, there were plenty more cameras on the pitch. And the game itself was great. This is a League One match.
Yeah, I mean, what was more? I mean, I have to say that occupies no interest to me whatsoever. But what I was interested about was the level of they seem to the Birmingham fans seem to be drinking the Kool-Aid, because they've now gone from having attendances at a certain level and season tickets. And I was listening to someone in the commentary talking about they've got a 46% increase in ticket sales, season ticket sales. So clearly they're buying into the fact that their owners have currently made an absolute unadulterated Horlicks of Birmingham City and got them relegated to League One. Let's not forget that. Let's not forget this was a Premier League football club, whether they liked it, and Sullivan and Gold were there, and they used to call him David Sullivan. I've been sulking, didn't they? Once upon a time, because he always had a tantrum about the lack of love they gave him. But they've now turned themselves into a League One club. I don't doubt that they'll buy their way out of the division, because you're going to go and spend £24 million on footballers in League One, which is half the reasons why the Premier League clubs look over their shoulders at these wealthy owners and go, "Why are we giving you more money? You've got just as much money as some of us." So what I looked at modelling interest was because I'd flapped my gums out of the fact that I thought Wrexham might overcome Birmingham. So I looked at it from that point of view. And when I saw the cameras just panning on bloody Neville and Beckham, I thought, well, I'm not really interested in all that. I'm really interested in seeing what kind of football I'm looking at, what kind of quality I'm looking at.
For sure.
And a brilliant second goal from Birmingham, by the way.
No, fair comment, all of it. Before the match and after the match, but before the match, the great and the good of Birmingham and Wrexham were lining up to say their bit. And it was pretty interesting. Tom Wagner, the new man at the top of Birmingham City, spoke to Jim Proudfoot and spoke about what they'd learned on the journey thus far.
One of the things is perhaps not to push too much in certain areas too fast, but I think that's a finely balanced topic, because while you don't want to push too hard and make mistakes, you don't want to lessen your ambition, you don't want to set your objectives too low. So, we got some criticism for some of the things that we've done thus far. I think that's a natural part of trying to achieve excellence. I don't know that anyone has ever gone from 0 to 100 and not stumbled along the way, and we're certainly going to make more mistakes going forward, but what matters is how we react when we don't do something that's perfect from day one. And I think that ultimately is what we're about. And look, I'll tell you one thing. This I know for sure. With Tom as our partner, we're never going to stop trying to be the very, very best, and we're never going to quit. I think it would be a mistake not to set our ambitions at the highest level. If you're not shooting for excellence and trying to get to the top, then why bother? So that's the objective. There really isn't any other way to put it.
That's a convenient rewrite, isn't it? No one criticises people for making mistakes, but you've turned your football club from being a championship challenging football club that was looking upwards to a team that got relegated.
That's
not a mistake.
Some of the vocabulary that he uses are straight out your playbook.
Well, yeah,
they have intentions like you would have.
I don't know if that's out of my playbook.
I mean, they would surely.
I don't know if
they're
that's
shooting for the moon.
I don't know if that's out of my playbook at all. I mean, I find myself curious to see how the Americans would receive the lectures that they give to our sport if we superimpose English ownership over NFL sides and stuff like that. So it amuses me a little bit. But the bottom line is that they will find out how difficult it is, and they have every right to have ambitions. Birmingham City is a big football club that has no business being in League One.
Absolutely, but are they lecturing anybody? They're not lecturing anybody.
To some extent, there are observations about whether football should be played. I mean, I listened to what I consider to be a buffoon in Jerry Cook, talking about
Gary Cook,
about going and playing league games in America as some sort of necessity and some sort of staple diet. For whom and for what reason? And really and truly, your job was to employ a decent manager that didn't help you get relegated in the season where you were trying to stake some claims. I look at those two games and think to myself, it's an interesting Birmingham. My first default setting with no invested spirit at all is Birmingham shouldn't be in this division for a start.
And they would agree.
They're a big football
they'd agree
club.
To that.
And the fact that they are is a blot on the land. And it's not about making mistakes. We all make mistakes. Of course you make mistakes. Portable knowledge is something very difficult to take from one industry to another. The fact that you've put them in League One shouldn't excuse you from the consequences of people's judgment of that.
Yeah, but Simon, hang on a second. You listen to Tom Wagner and then you listen to the ramblings of Lawrence Bassini. Who do you think Birmingham City fans would rather have in situ?
Well, first and foremost, I think Bassini, as much of a clown that I think he is, I think he presided over Watford getting promoted to the Premier League. These guys have presided over Birmingham getting relegated to League One. And so whilst the shtick sounds good, a lot of what Americans say when you dig deep into it has a lack of substance, and also is all about the commerciality of the sport. Now, I don't know whether Brady and his guys will build Birmingham back into a Premier League club. I suspect if you throw enough money at it, they probably will. And given the fact that you've got a club, you watched it yesterday, it looked like a Premier League football stadium. It looked like a stadium, and it looked like Sheffield Wednesday looked a couple of years ago when they were playing in the playoffs with 30,000 fans in their stadium. What it is a glowing endorsement of how thriving English football is when you give people something to watch. And then you look at the other side of the things, which is Wrexham, which I know irritates certain people inside the pyramid because of all the attention they're getting. It doesn't irritate me. I'll be interested to see if they can go the whole way and come out of this division into the Championship. But what they've got, and they're convincing me more and more because I'm seeing the fact of the power of the media is influencing the commercial income that this business can bring in. So they're getting associated partners that are sponsoring Wrexham that have never heard of Wrexham Football Club, wouldn't know where Wrexham was if you gave them a map.
Right.
Yet they feel now, because of the Netflix documentary, they feel now because of the Ryan Reynolds connection, that there's an opportunity to endorse something. So that's why I think Wrexham have a chance. Do I see any of these two sides in the Premier League in short order? Maybe. I was going to say, I mean, go for it. 10-14 on Tuesday the 17th of September. Who gets to the Premier League first, Birmingham or Wrexham? I genuinely, if I said I knew, I would be wiser than most people. Anyone's got a degree of certainty about something is a fool, because there's nothing certain in life. I think they're both built.
I've got a feeling about Birmingham.
Possibly. Yeah, I mean, possibly. I mean, if what it will have done is galvanise them, because let's be clear. I mean, I took Palace in my first season and they nearly got relegated, so I know what it looks like. And if they'd have got relegated in the first season, we finished fourth from bottom after me spending, at the time, 10 or 12 million pound on footballers, which would probably be equivalent to about 50 million quid in today's money on Championship footballers to nearly get relegated. So I know what that looks like. And if we'd have got relegated, I would have felt that was an unadulterated failing, and it would have been entirely upon the decisions that I made. And I wouldn't be looking to say, well, anyone can criticise because, along the way, if you haven't tried anything, you never make any mistakes. Taking a club like Birmingham that was sixth in the league, firing a manager for the optics of bringing in an autograph signing, and then getting relegated in the same season is poor.
Yeah, it's poor, but as Wagner says, everybody stumbles along the way to start with.
Yeah, but there's a stumble and there's a fall flat in your face. We all stumble and trip.
How do you rate their intentions?
Well, they've bought a football club to be successful, haven't they?
Right.
I don't rate their intentions because Tom Brady's involved.
No.
I think Tom Brady is an NFL quarterback.
Yeah, well, we'll hear from Brady maybe the other side of this break. But I tell you what, Simon, when you hear that Knighthead Capital Management acquired a 48-acre site in East Birmingham with the intention of building a new 60,000-seater stadium and a sports quarter infrastructure, the plans are big.
Yeah.
And if you're a Birmingham City fan, you think, thank God, because we've been overshadowed by Villa for a while.
They've talked about this for some time, and now they're delivering upon it. So I don't doubt they see the commercial value of engineering a circumstance where this football club can build itself a platform. This wasn't so long ago. This football club had sold a player in Jude Bellingham for 30 million quid and shut its academy, which is unbelievable when you think about it. It produces a player that ultimately funds his academy for the next 10 years and then shuts it down.
Well, Darren is a big Birmingham City fan. Darren, good morning to you.
Morning, Jim.
Good morning to you, Darren. What was your take on it? I'm seeing quite a bunch of messages coming in, Darren, like we could have done with the cameras not showing us the people like Brady and Wagner and Beckham and the rest of them as much as they did last night. How's about concentrating on the game? What do you think?
I totally agree. I think it went a bit over the top. I mean, panning in to see their reaction when we score, and like maybe a couple of times during the game, that's fine. But just to keep on doing it like 5, 6, 7 times, I think it just went a bit over the top in the end.
And are you comfortable with the Americans in at your club now? I mean, are you going in the right direction under them?
Absolutely. Tom Wagner says there's a process. When they came in, they took on 47 projects, which he admitted was a bit too many. But they've improved the stadium. They're getting investors like Delta Airlines. They've built the old Big Wheel site, and they're planning on doing a big complex like Man City. So I truly believe we are heading in the right direction.
Good man, Darren, thank you for that. Wonder if Liam agrees. Another Birmingham fans. Great having you guys on this morning, Liam, isn't it? First part of TalkSport, and you're on the show this morning. It shows something's going on at your club, doesn't it? And the Americans are going on. How do you feel about them?
Yeah, I think there's a massive feel-good factor despite the relegation last year. I think if you actually look into our club over the previous years, you'll see that there's been a lot of issues with the ownership, points deductions and the lot. So despite the failure last year, we're actually on the right direction, and what they've invested into the clubs thus far only puts us on the right pathway.
It's funny, Liam, though, isn't it? You talk about a feel-good factor in the same sentence as the fact you were relegated.
Yeah, so when we were speaking about the increased season ticket sales, it's all about the fact that they have invested, they have brought a lot of good things to the club, although that inevitable relegation or that previous relegation. So I guess all in all, we're heading in the right direction. It's a project, and we are going to be back in the promised land one day.
You are indeed, Liam. Thank you for that. I wonder what Steve thinks. Steve, good morning. You're going to give us a different dimension to it. You're an Arsenal fan, right?
Hi, Jim. Nice to speak to you. Nice to speak to you, Simon.
Morning.
Morning, Steve. What do you think?
It's a bit of it's a small part of a bigger scheme, I think. I think you've got all these Americans now, like Foley, Reynolds. They're invested in these football teams, and I just wonder why. Like, why? Why are they invested in it? They've got all this money, and suddenly they want to come over to the UK and own what they call a soccer team. Like, it just makes no sense to me. And I just worry that all this money that's getting pummeled into these clubs with advertisement and everything like that, media coverage, is like going to come loose in the end.
Yeah, but answer your own question though, Steve. What do you worry that Kroenke's at the top of your club?
Well, yeah, but we're doing well. Yeah, you got me there, Jim.
Well, no, and I didn't mean it to be a gotcha moment, Steve. But it's true, Simon. I mean, the question, I don't know, Simon. How do you answer that question? Why are the Americans in at Birmingham? Why did the two Hollywood boys so greatly want to put their hats in the ring and go for Wrexham?
Well, I mean, it isn't just American owners. You can ask the question of why is there a global audience of global investors from everywhere besides bloody Britain? I mean, everybody else around the world wants to buy into our football clubs, except on the whole, the people that are indigenous and the businessmen are based in this country. I mean, I'm being a bit broader than the reality of it is. But if you look at the clubs that are being bought and you look at the different nationalities, whether it's the fella at Southampton or whether it's the ownership model at Ipswich or whether it's the ownership model at Birmingham or Wrexham or whoever else you're, Nottingham Forest, all from different parts of the world, because there's a variety of reasons why you own a football club, and some of them are based upon influence and opportunity and commercial realities. If you're an American, you've seen the sports models in America. You know that sports franchises, and I use the term in conjunction with Americans because that's how they refer to it, are instrumental in opportunities for huge capital and income growth. It's much more difficult in European sports because there's a different setup, a different dynamic. The owners aren't business partners, they're adversaries, whereas in the NFL and the NBA and the MLS in America, they're business partners. Hence the reasons why it's easy for them to do things together and there's no controversy about it, whereas in our sport it's different. Yeah. But I think there's a variety of reasons. I used to say years ago it was about recognisability, credibility. Once upon a time it was about being the biggest man in the town, and now it's about a variety of different things, because you can utilise football clubs for so much more than just simply sports opportunities. Look, you've got Delta Airlines wanting to sponsor Birmingham City, predominantly I suspect because of some hookup with Tom Brady in the past and the brand association that goes with that. And then you've got all this ability to be able to access information and data about people. Hundreds of thousands of people watch football. If you have other interests in other walks of life, you can access these people through sports. It brings you to the table. It takes people into places and spaces that naturally they might not be able to get to. which is what the Saudis are doing, and what the Americans are doing. It's like the American model is very different. The reasons why the comparison between what Man City did with a redevelopment project of Manchester against the Birmingham City owners. The Man City ownership model is about the hearts and minds of the West and changing the direction for lots of reasons why. The Americans are about money.
Yes.
They will build things if they think there's money at the end of it.
People will come. Why were you talking in 4 or 5 word bursts there?
Because I'm giving it. I'm doing it. It's like when you introduce a big film, and I'm doing it with that sort of trying to do that sort of gravitas to make the point in a pointed way.
Well, you had me
by punctuating it.
Very good. There's is that Steve? I think it is from Hall Green. This sums it up, Simon. Morning, guys. I'm a Birmingham City fan. We struggled for years. Now we're in a good place. If Mr. Wagner wants to invite Bex to a game to up our profile, I'm all for it. My 8-year-old loved every minute of yesterday. Thank you, Mr. Wagner.
And that's great. And what does Hollywood represent in my lifetime? Style over substance. You want substance. The style will get you so far. Birmingham City needs substance. They've had lots of false dawns, and now they've got an opportunity with a bit of pizzazz and all that goes with it. It's not a bad thing, draws attention upon you, but let's have some substance as well.
I agree, Simon, but do you accept the EFL is now no longer the man with the rattle, as you once dubbed it?
Well, I think the thinking inside the EFL is better. I think if you put grown-ups in the room like Rick Parry and Trevor Birch, you might have yourself a chance. Yeah. There's still some small-minded owners.
The perception's changed, hasn't it?
Yeah, but there's still some small-minded owners that sit at the bottom of the pyramid, bitching and whining about what they haven't got rather than looking forward to what could be gotten.
Yeah.
But no, they are going to be the poor man in the room because they are the poor man in the room. They are. I mean, look at the comparison between what the Premier League has become and what the EFL is. Yeah. But yes, they're getting better. They've got overseas broadcast deals. Yeah. And they've got glamorous football clubs inside their pyramids.
Jim White and Simon Jordan. Monday to Friday mornings from 10 on AM, on DAB, via the TalkSPORT app and on your smart speaker. TalkSPORT.